Hello, 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 all of you incredible beings in this Galactic Alliance. What a wild journey this is. Thank you so much for having me be a part of this event. My name is Karina Ryder. I'm an environmental wellness practitioner, creative environments designer, and intuitive artist. And as a result of connecting knowledge from my academic education, my personal studies, my intuitive and cosmic understandings, as well as my spiritual experiences, I have developed a unique design methodology that helps cultivate a deeper relationship with your environments, enhancing self awareness, self understanding, and ultimately your overall well being through the application of sensorial storytelling and spiritual design. Now, what I didn't realize until this past couple of years is that in the process of doing so, I would begin my journey in healing my centuries old witch wound. And here today, I'd like to share that story. I have put together a presentation that I'd like to share. So ultimately, in order for me to fulfill this mission, this little role I like to think of as my it's my part in assisting the ascension of humankind. I realized I just needed to step into my authentic self fully. But more importantly, I needed to allow my business to reflect this as well. So, as a child, I was unapologetically connected to Source. I was very aware of the energies around me, and my safe place was outdoors in the forest and over by the adjacent pond. Um, this is where I always had the frogs and bugs and birds and turtles and gnomes and fairies and dragons to keep me company. I loved being creative. I still do. And I was often inspired by and expressed myself through the environment around me. And that hasn't changed either. So, around the age of 11, 12, and into my teens is when my interest in the metaphysics and esoteric knowledge began. I started spending my allowance on things like crystals and tarot cards and books on astrology and ancient Egypt. I was had fascinated and feel very connected with Egypt for as long as I can remember. It was around the age of about 15, 16 that I realized that the lucid dreaming that I experienced was not what everybody else was having. So I started studying dream analysis and gotten myself to a point where I had quite a bit of control even in my dream state. Um, I, over the years, have had dreams that I am very confident about that it are, I guess, visions into past lives and future lives, and as well as astral traveling. I have definitely experienced things in my dreams that are not earthly. Um, and actually, something that I have come to believe is that I don't really believe in imagination. I think it's more of us tapping into other time spaces and dimensions and lots of things that we still don't fully understand. So, in my early 20s, I attended a shamanic ceremony where two events that evening really stuck in my memory. First off, we did a meditation and exercise, a guided meditation exercise to find our spirit animals. And we were partnered up, and I was partnered up with my younger brother, who did not bring back a spirit animal for me, but instead brought back this golden key. Well, a golden key. Um, and it was it was the shaman who reassured me because I was a little disappointed that I didn't get my spirit animal. But he reassured me that there was an importance to this key. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been received and brought back for me. The other thing that evening, the shaman I had a one-on-one with him, and he said very strongly, he said it was, I carry the witch wound immensely. He said he was seeing visions of either a past life or a direct relative of mine being tortured and burnt alive at the stake. And he said that to me that at some point in my life, this will be a challenge for me to overcome. And I remember feeling a little confused because I felt like I was accepted the, modern day witchcraft. And I had my own deck of tarot cards and crystals and whatnot. But I guess I didn't fully understand what he meant at the time. So a little bit about what the witch wound is, just briefly on in its broadest sense. Um, just about everybody living on this planet today has some level of this energy. It's essentially the feeling that you can't express yourself fully because of certain societal standards that are, that you give you a fear of feeling disempowered or invalidated, or shamed or judged if you share your authentic self. I found a definition that resonated with me, with how it fits for me, and it's Celeste Larson says, the witch wound is a collective intergenerational spiritual wound that keeps people afraid of their own magic and power. Quick historically, here in the United States at least, it's often associated with the Salem witch trials, although up to 100,000, possibly many more people, mostly women, were prosecuted globally over many centuries. The height of witch mania started in mid 1400s Europe through the late 1800s United States. Many people were tortured, hanged, drowned, burned, and beheaded, although many did not actually practice witchcraft or what is stereotypical for witchcraft practices. Anyway, some of these people may have just been too ugly or too old or made somebody angry and got put into this category of banished and ultimately many killed. So, moving on, over the next 20 years or so of my life, I put my esoteric knowledge interests as were more of pastimes. The tarot cards came out occasionally. But I really focused on my education, my career, and my social life. I have a degree in studio arts, a degree in theater arts with a focus in scenic design, and a graduate certificate in landscape architecture. Over those years, I was a bartender. I was a set builder and painter for events, a retail display artist, and landscape design. So after graduation from UCLA, I was determined to manifest my dream job. That was my focus. And but I quickly was reminded once I got back into everyday life that how expensive and hectic the lifestyle is in LA. And it really wasn't where I wanted my career to take off, where I wanted to start a business or live. So I started reaching out to the universe again and asking for questions and some guidance. I started using my I Ching book again. And this is when I started really paying attention to the law of attraction, listening to a lot of Abraham Hicks. It was also my introduction to meditating with the archangels. I met Metatron at this time, who's a very important guide for me. Anyway, um, not knowing where I was meant to be, I did what anybody would do, and I relinquished most of my belongings and jumped on my motorcycle and went searching for my dream job. Um, there's a long story behind that. I share a bit more of that on my podcast if you're interested. Anyway, over the next couple of years, my personal interest in studying the mystical knowledge was revived. And I was still meditating a lot, calling on the angels, and other cosmic entities, even more regularly. I started incorporating sacred geometry into my art and design a lot more and studying that more deeply. I also began exploring the Akashic records, tapping into past lives, and as well as learning more about the starseed lineages. Um, as I mentioned earlier, have always had this connection with ancient Egypt, but it was around this time that I started learning about a past life in the mid to late 1800s, a woman in the Wild West. Honestly, I feel like I have a lot of her traits in this life. And interestingly, around this time, my sister gifted me this card here, the 51% good girl, 49% outlaw. So I think she was tapping into what it was coming through me. Also, when learning about the star seeds, everything I read about the Lyrans, I resonates so deeply, and so many of the traits describe who I am. Even some of the physical traits. One thing I came across was that Lyran souls and their human experience here tend to come in with blue eyes that turn um, green, but especially having gold in them, which is something that has happened to my eyes as I've gotten older. Um, and another funny story that I connect to this is that when I was in junior high, I had a bully who used to call me the cat-eyed witch, which wasn't offended by. Anyway, so in 2019, I finally realized I had this epiphany because I was frustrated with not having found my dream job. And I had an epiphany that I was going about the job search all wrong. I was in an outdated mindset, a very programmed mindset. And instead of putting all of my effort into finding my dream job, I shifted my energy to focus on creating the lifestyle that I wanted and just let my career fall into place from there. So I wanted to be in nature more. I was sick of living in these big cities. And I really wanted to live and travel in an RV. It was something I kept seeing when I was on my motorcycle tour, and I was like, that's smart. So I started developing business ideas as to how to create a life that being of service to create a more positive world while living out on the road. So I started searching for projects supporting landscape designers, landscape architects doing illustration work, as well as this is when I was called to start this line of positively charged jewelry and home decor, which is called Field Creators. And also, it's if you're interested, there's a page on my website that with more information. Anyway, let's see. Within about a year, I started having steady clients, and I was really envisioning what my RV would look like and ready for this new life of mine. Um, Little did I know that there was a pandemic looming. So we all know things took a dive and life changed for all of us. Um, and my Home on Wheels showed up a bit sooner than expected and in a slightly different form than expected. Um, but, it had a bed and a roof, which was a bit more than traveling on my motorcycle. So let the adventure begin. Anyway, well, most people were locked down in their home. I was blessed to be able to be out roaming the wilderness across the country. Um, and it was in Southern California, or I'm sorry, Southern Colorado. Um, I had some really intense that my sensations were heightened. Here that I can't say I was seeing ghosts, but I was sensing presence and energy and emotions and felt very connected there. I have a good feeling that my Wild West past self had been there, and that there was connecting happening with her. I know that I was having a similar feeling when I was on my motorcycle tour going through the Santa Fe Taos area, which is not far from here. But this area was much more intense, especially at night. Um, I, I I almost feel I could see them, but I it's more of a just an intuitive knowing. So in Missouri, I had some more of these incredible experiences. I lived for 3 months completely off grid, no electricity, no running water. I lived in a pasture with horses at the edge of a forest and a beautiful creek nearby. This was in a animal sanctuary for abandoned and abused animals. I cooked and heated my water on an open fire pit. I showered outside. I've never felt so alive before. It was incredible. Um, this is where I really started to revive that close connection I have with nature that I had had when I was a child. But it was almost as if it was even stronger. There's a lot of possible reasons behind that, but I started really noticing my energy shifting when just showering one day outside, and I had two bees and three ladybugs land on me in a matter of 5 to 10 minutes. Um, the horses taught me their telepathic, energetic way of communicating. I'm sure other horse people out there know what I'm talking about. Um, I also, a few times walking in the woods, I had these incredible experiences connecting with my ancestors. Now, Missouri is my father's home state, and his parents and family, lots of family from that area. And I had one day when I felt as if now my physical body was still grounded and touching the ground, but I felt energetically, I could feel my ancestors coming and lifting me, and holding me. It was very gentle. Um, it was incredible. Um, this this experience completely changed my life. and actually I feel like I have these superpowers. That's what I like to call them. This is later on, this was this past summer. I had this, so I have this connection with animals and insects and anything living, especially um, just um, animals are frequently drawn to me. So this red dragonfly kept coming to visit a couple days in a row. And one day I just hung out all afternoon, all the hours and hours. And it would fly away for a couple minutes and then come back and fly away for a couple minutes and come back and sit for 15, 20 minutes with me, but over all afternoon. And so I was talking with it. And at one point I asked it if it would be okay for me to pet it. And so I went and started stroking the base, or as in this picture. And it let me do this 4 or 5 times. I didn't have my phone on me at first. I actually walked away and went and got my phone and came back, and it still let me just pet. It was electrifying. Uh, um, it's incredible. So I've also I have this heightened awareness of energies, not only with living things, but also with non-living, and as well as just in general within a space, and obviously with humans. I'm also my emotional senses have been heightened. Um, I've always been pretty good with reading other people's emotions, but it's um, I have superpowers. And so, another thing here, this chart is my human design chart. I've learned that I'm a projector, and that has helped me understand what this shift and understand how my energy works. Because there is some issue when I'm in large groups, both in person and online, when I'm in densely populated areas. The energy can be really overwhelming for me and very amplified. Um, but I'm learning that it's if I'm stay grounded and confident, versus being in the fear-based energy and emotion, it's easier to manage. But it's still worth it. I love this being. Um, I feel more connected. So I have this new, clearer understanding of the physical world, I feel. And it's as a result of my experiences, and the education and knowledge that I have, as but I've been very inspired and influenced by the law of attraction, many of the Hermetic principles, and dream analysis techniques. And I began building a relationship with my surroundings that's allowed me to have more insight into myself. Um, and another quote that I didn't get on here that I feel sums up what I'm talking about in greatly is that Abraham Hicks quote says, "Spiritual versus material are not choices. Everything about the physical manifestational experience is spiritual. It is all the end product of spirit." So this all led to the development of my design methodology. And I realized that I had discovered something that didn't just have to be helpful to me, but could be beneficial to just about anybody. So I began building ways that I could share this wisdom with others. And one that incorporates the idea of building a relationship with environments through sensorial storytelling and spiritual design, and is based on the concept that your environments are a direct reflection of who you are, an equivalent match to your vibrational being. Utilizing various design tools and metaphysical elements such as color theory, aromatherapy, the chakra system, the four directions, medicine wheel, the moon cycles and astrology, the principles of design, sacred geometry, crystals, plants, and so much more. So I realized that by incorporating this design methodology, I would have to completely reinvent my business, and that this would mean sharing the origins to the world, which would mean openly disclosing all of my woo-woo beliefs and practices. So I had to go all in. And that's when it hit me that the shaman was right. I had some shadow work to do. Um, this is when I recognized that I had been very selective about who, when, how much of uh, this part of me I shared with others. So I started recognizing my fear of being judged and not being taken seriously in my craft and especially in my career. So what next? What to do? Um, so at the beginning of 2022, I set an intention to find community, to connect with others who were already walking this journey, to work with others who were doing light work. Um, and, you know, I feel lucky to be living in this time of this transition into the age of Aquarius because I'm not alone. There are others out there doing it who have similar, if not even more intense or crazy stories than I have. Um, and ultimately, this is how I found the Galactic Alliance, the Wish Alliance, which is now the Galactic Alliance. So, thank you to you all for all of you who have shared your stories and your wisdom. You have gifted me the courage to fully accept to fully accept my mission, and to share in return. You've given me the confidence and determination to build a new business, to construct a new website, and to produce a podcast. That's all happened this last year. So I am very thankful to have found my gift, to have I get my gift to give to others. And I feel like I'm one step closer to healing my witch wound, as well as being a part of healing the overall for everyone. Um, so, with all of that said, I just want to say I don't actually call myself a witch. I am a Lyran soul with an earthly human mission. I am a mystic rebel. I am a wild woman. I'm an artist, a designer, a creator who uses connection to source and its benevolent energies in my work. Thank you for this opportunity to be raw and vulnerable and share this story. Thank you for listening. I really, truly hope to work with many of you in the future. And I invite you to check out my website as well as my podcast, which is available on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, a bunch of others, including my directly through my website, which lists the others. And yes, I hope you enjoy it. So I just want to say one more time, thank you, thank you, thank you.